The sun is shining, the vibe is right. We're dancing together day and night, with laughter in the air and love so free. This is the place where we all wanna be. Good times rolling with my friends by my side. In the rhythm of life we take a ride. Every beat, every smile is pure delight. Together we shine.
Well, I'm almost done with my run. I think probably got like half a mile, I'm hoping. Somewhere in there, who knows. So I'm gonna slow it down, start cooling down. But I just wanted to kind of talk about pushing your limits and your boundaries, and what does that actually look like? What's the practical application of that, and how do we, find our salvation through that suffering, or, the golden ticket to Willy Wonka. So today is a great example for me. I kind of did this little study trying to find a circular route, because I don't like doing out and backs, and I get kind of bored doing laps on the local track or trails that I know. I like exploring and I like adventure. I'm fairly comfortable in the backcountry alone with my gear and equipment, so I like to go out and explore and find new places. So today's prescription, I had a certain distance I had to make for my training, and so I kind of looked around and found a trail, and the trail that I found had about a 7-mile trail along this river that was kind of gradual, downhill, rolling hills, fairly flat, not a lot of elevation change. And then that got to the halfway point, and it made a right turn. And at that point, I ended up climbing a hill. It was about 3,000 feet to get to the top, and then, dropping off the backside 2 miles, getting back down to my car. And so that felt like a good plan. I tried to find some trail reviews, read a little bit, and then, the trail reviews I'm guessing I read talked about the trail, maybe the first mile of it, that people actually walked to go fishing. Because as soon as I got past that first little bit, the trail became not actually a trail, but I would just call it like a potential trail. So it was completely overgrown, deadfall everywhere. So rocky roots, probably around mile 2 or 3, I had to cross the creek. And so I took my shoes off the first time, and then 15 minutes later, I ended up having to cross it again. I thought I could get across on the rocks, and I fell. So I soaked from that point, ended up having to cross back over that creek or that river probably another 10 to 12 times. So pretty wet altogether on my feet for the rest of the run. And the trail was it was really brutal. It was hard to move. I was constantly climbing over stuff. It was a V, so my feet were never flat. Rocks, there was thorns everywhere ripping on me. I was getting stuck in everything, and it was just not an easy trail. And so probably about almost the halfway mark, there's that little voice inside your head that we all know very well, right? And so it starts to come up with these ideas. And in situations like this, I'm very deliberate and not allowing it to have traction. I don't like it to get sticky in my head. And so I try and just let it come in a revolving door and then come out the other side. But basically, where I got to was the point where my mind was starting to tell me, wow, you don't know what's in front of you. This has been really, really rough. We're almost at the halfway point, and this is the flat terrain. If this terrain is like this and you got a 3,000 foot climb, that's going to be a horrible day, and you don't have enough food. And once you leave this river, there's no more water, so you'll probably be short on water. And so that was kind of where that voice was going to go. And so that's the negative side. The positive side would have been, if I make it through this and I cross over and I start up that next trail, because it was actually a different trail I went onto, it might be a little bit more groomed, or a little bit more used, and, then I'll be able to kind of make up some speed and get a good push going up the hill. Not that I wasn't getting an amazing workout. It was really hard, but that's kind of where I was at. And so I was listening to a podcast, and it was Marc, and I don't know if you know who he is, but you can check him out. I'm a big fan. I've read a lot of his stuff, and he was having a discussion with some of his peers about, defining endurance and what it means. And so he said, it's really relative. Endurance is it's different for different people, right? So no matter who you are, you get to a point where you're in an endurance state. You have to endure. So the best answer that I heard that they kind of gave a definition is when your perception of the event or thing that you went to do no longer meets the reality of what it is. That's when endurance begins. And so for me, that was around mile 6 or 7 at about the halfway point. And so that's a key thing and a key point, because you have to get yourself into places where you reach that point. And now you could reach that point with a goal in a gym or on the track of the high school. You know, you can say, hey, I'm gonna go run 8 miles, or I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. But the problem with that is once you reach that point of endurance, when your perception of the event no longer matches the reality, the out is too easy. It's way too easy. It's just stopping and walking to your car, right? And so that's why I love being out in the backcountry on these trails, because busting brush and thorns and logs and crossing rivers 15 times at 7 miles, if I quit, I had 7 miles to go to get back out of there. So at that point, you might as well see it through. You've bought the ticket, so take the ride. And in doing so, completion of whatever that is so rewarding that if you've never done that or you haven't been there, this is what I'm telling you to try and find. Now, my example is unique to me. Everyone's got their own threshold they need to find. But when I say pushing the limits, expanding it, suffering, enduring, that's the point I'm talking about getting to, is that point where you have to keep going and the out isn't an easy out. So you endure. It's a little bit of exposure. You have to risk a little bit. It's a little bit scary, but you'll be a better person for it. And I guarantee when you get back to your car, having completed that thing that you set out to do, the benefit you'll get from it will be profound. Well, there's my 2 cents on this Saturday. Have a great weekend.